Congressman Robert Garcia has been leading the charge in Washington, D.C. to bring transparency to all of us as Americans concerning the Epstein Files. He joins me today to get us caught up to speed on the latest, including what information came from that deposition, which has yet to conclude, by the way, of the former U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta. You know, the guy who authorized and approved that sweetheart plea deal that Epstein got in the mid-2000s. Congressman Garcia also talks about Tom Homan, the quote-unquote Border Czar, who took $50,000 in cash as a bribe to direct government contracts to what he thought were business executives, but actually were undercover FBI agents. Congressman Garcia talks about why the White House has a lot of questions to answer. And a friend of the show, Congressman Robert Garcia, is so kind to take some time out of his busy schedule to drop in and give us some critical updates. Congressman, I want to start with Tom Homan, quote unquote, Border Czar, recipient of $50,000. I will share with you my frustration. I don't know why nobody has asked him, where did the $50,000 go? Putting aside what Caroline Leavitt claims, which I know is a lie, this guy's on video with undercover FBI agents taking 50 grand in cash in a kava bag in order to steer government contracts to, they were undercover FBI agents, but he thought they were business executives. Congressman, there is a fantastic letter that has been sent to Pamela Joe at DOJ, Kash Patel at the FBI, demanding the audio, the video, the correspondence, and everything that underscores why this investigation was dead on arrival when Trump took office. But talk about why it's so important to keep this top and center of the discourse.
It's really important. I mean, look, first of all, as we know, Tom Homan has done horrific things. So, separate of this one, obviously a bribe and this one really serious kind of action that we need to investigate. This is someone, of course, who's going around launching a deportation force across the country, trampling on people's due process, to care less about the humanity in immigrants, and in some cases, U.S. citizens or permanent residents that are here with some type of documentation. And he's picking folks up for absolutely no reason. Yet he is somehow possibly taking a $50,000 bribe to steer contracts. Yet he's trying to deport everybody else. I think a few folks have said it, but it bears to be repeated. He should be self-deporting himself. This is someone that is committing a horrific crime. The level of corruption in the Trump administration, and clearly here now within the White House, the work at DHS, the work that Mr. Homan and his office are doing is quite serious. I think that judiciary and others are exactly right. We need to get not just any documentation, any video, any tape, but I think the White House has a lot of questions still that they need to answer. How do you try to cover up when someone is being handed a bag of cash? That just does not happen.
Well, especially when it's caught on audio or video, number one. But number two, there's a portion of this letter that I shared with my viewers yesterday that I want to also kind of go over with you, because I feel like this just goes to show that it's one big RICO conspiracy, racketeering conspiracy that is being run by the Trump administration right now. Homan is in charge of a policy of mass arrests and deportations that involves billions and billions of taxpayer dollars. That sentence alone should justify DOJ and the FBI having to answer questions from Congress. Why is it, though, that it's only the Democrats that are seeking these answers?
Because Republicans are obsessed with just covering up Donald Trump and his crimes and corruption. At the end of the day, it's like they have shown absolutely no willingness, no spine, whether it's on the Epstein Files, whether it's on Tom Homan and DHS, whether it's on his crypto scheme at the White House. There's no ceiling anymore with these Republicans, no floor. They don't care. They could care less about anything that Donald Trump does, says. Their job is to back him up, to make sure he gets what he wants, to approve his judges, to work with these outside dark money groups, to continue to push to destroy our institutions. And so it's really sad to see what's happened to the modern day Republican Party. There really is the party is really just Trump. It should just be the Trump party. That's exactly what it is. And Mike Johnson is there to serve whatever Donald Trump wants. That's what Mike Johnson is there to do. The other thing that I think is really kind of staggering is in no scenario would any person think that a government official being handed a bag of cash, let alone $50,000, is somehow ethical or should just be excused away. The FBI clearly and the agents on the ground had clear concerns. And for the White House to then come out and say, oh, no, this is fine, there's nothing here illegal, is pretty outrageous. And so I don't think anyone's going to let this go. I imagine that Tom Homan's in pretty deep water here. So I think more and more is going to come out.
Yeah, you also picked up on something that was a part of the request. And by the way, they want this information no later than September 29th from the FBI and DOJ. But the last request was any ethics opinions or guidance provided regarding Homan's appointment as Border Czar while under federal investigation. And you're right, it doesn't actually have to rise to the level of a criminal indictment. Just the fact that this guy was being considered for federal appointment while all of this was going on and was clearly documented by the FBI and the DOJ should have raised red flags. You brought up Congressman Epstein. I want to, laud you for always keeping your foot on the gas for this. There is so much going on. We are on the eve of a government shutdown next week. More gamesmanship and partisanship from the Republicans with regards to that. But they're trying to distract us from the Epstein Files. I know that you had the chance to be a part of that closed-door deposition of the former U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta, last week. That is a person that I have been screaming from the rafters about, needed to sit down and answer questions. Talk about how absolutely disgusting his testimony was in his level of apathy and his lack of concern for the Epstein victims.
Yeah, it was pretty stunning, to be honest. And look, we still have a lot work to do with that deposition and some more questions. But broadly speaking, let me just say that the most shocking part is that he showed no remorse for his actions. I mean, we know that Acosta is the person that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal, when we also know that his lead prosecutor, was recommending a very serious federal indictment, 20 co-conspirators. They were going to go in multiple directions as it relates to this case, and really going after the men, and in some cases other people that were involved in helping Jeffrey Epstein abuse, rape, all the violence against these young women and girls. And so why then Acosta then comes in and makes the call, and he admits it, it's his call at the end of the day. He makes the call to ignore his line prosecutor, and instead it comes up with this 18-month kind of limited state agreement where Jeffrey Epstein gets basically the ability to go out every day on work release, doesn't really serve any type of sentence. And then during that work release, we know he goes on to actually cause more violence to more women and girls. In fact, I spoke to a woman at the round table that we had in DC a few weeks ago that was assaulted and abused during that period of time where Epstein was out on work release.
Oh my God.
Thanks to Alex Acosta. And so I actually asked Acosta directly if he at all had any regrets, or would at least admit that what Jeffrey Epstein got was a sweetheart deal and not something that we should stand by. And he wouldn't do so. He in fact stood by and thought that was the best that they could do at the time, which we know is a lie and bullshit, because his own team was actually recommending something dramatically stronger that would actually have accountability and bring justice to these victims. And one more thing on this point, which I think is really important. I also asked him, I thought it was interesting. He kept saying that he didn't agree with his line prosecutor. He didn't agree with the conclusions that were being made. And I asked him, did you think that the prosecutor was a good lawyer? Do you think that prosecutor was a good attorney, had a good record at the U.S. Attorney's Office? And he said, yes. He said, in fact, they were a stellar prosecutor. Okay, then what's the problem? Why are you making that decision? I think that's the big question. He would not answer that question. So
to be clear, it sounds like there's still more questioning to happen with Alex Acosta?
I think we definitely want to have more questioning. Look, we spent 6 hours with him, so we got a lot of information. We were able to confirm a lot of facts that we needed to have as we build our case, obviously. It's clear. We really wanted to learn if Acosta had any sort of regrets or if he stood by that decision. It's clear now that he stands by the decision. We wanted to understand if he thought that they should have gone further in their prosecution of Acosta. He clearly felt that they couldn't do anything else beyond the sweetheart 18-month slap on the wrist that they gave him. And it also was pretty stunning that he could not admit that other women were sexually assaulted during that time. And I asked him, I said, have you read the reports? Have you watched and seen these women testify that because of your actions, there was further abuse? And he wouldn't admit to that. He had no evidence, personal evidence of that. And so pretty stunning. It's clear that Acosta is part of a broader cover-up. I think it's of our opinion. And we're going to continue to, he's given us some good information. We're going to continue to follow some of the leads there.
Yeah, and your committee has done a spectacular job under your helm as leading House oversight of pulling on the threads that keep on kind of getting revealed, not only from the Epstein estate in terms of the birthday book and other stuff. Can you give us some idea, though? We know that you were getting tranches of information from the DOJ, albeit nothing good and nothing new, but you did get some information from the Epstein estate. These dates have now come and gone on these subpoenas. Your thoughts about maybe when we could see some, it may not be new to the public per se, but just some information coming from either of those sources.
Yeah, we've been inquiring with the DOJ. We're waiting for the Epstein files. They haven't been released. And we got a small sliver of documents, most of which, as you know, were already available to the public. And so we're waiting for the subpoena to be fulfilled by the DOJ and the White House. And so we're demanding that every single day. Now, a few things are developing as we move forward. I mean, one, we know Adalita Grijalva, of course, he just got elected to, of course, the Congress out in Arizona. Wonderful new member. She will be our 218th member to actually get the broader vote. Now, look, while we have a subpoena in place, having the entire Congress vote on it, I really helps build that case. And so I think that is going to be a stronger push to get the full files. And so that is a positive development. As soon as we get back in a session, she's going to sign that discharge petition. The second piece is we're right now working on a pretty substantial subpoena effort. And look, right now, Comer says he's working with us. We'll see how that ends up playing out. We need the financial documents. I mean, the next big goal for us is to get a hold of all of the financial documents and records of all the banks that Jeffrey Epstein and his other co-conspirators were involved with. This should give us an enormous amount of information about who paid what, where the money came from. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was a very wealthy man. How he actually created and gained that wealth, I think is really critical to this broader case. We know that he knew the richest men in the world. We know that he was close friends with Donald Trump. We know that a lot of this of his terror was happening out of Palm Beach, Florida. These are all important clues as we build this case, and those bank documents are going to be central to it.
Yeah, I often say, Congressman, in order to do this trafficking ring for as long as he didn't do it alone. And it required money and means, a level of power and influence that had to be funded in some way. So I was pleased to see during the questioning of FBI Director Kash Patel that there were requests to send subpoenas to at least 4 of the financial institutions that had suspicious activity reports filed concerning Epstein transactions. Congressman Garcia, I know you're incredibly busy. You are so gracious always with your time for me and for our viewers. And so I want to say thank you for giving us this update, a critical one on not only Tom Homan and the bribery allegations, but obviously the Jeffrey Epstein claims. We're grateful. Thank you for being a fighter. Thank you for actually doing the work that you were elected to do in DC. We're glad to see it.
Anytime. Thanks, Katie.
Thank you. Katie Phang here. We launched the Katie Phang News Channel in partnership with the Midas Touch Network so we could bring you the latest in legal and political news. Straight, no chaser. So if you're a fellow truth teller, hit that subscribe button and share the word about this channel so we can build a high information America together.